David, bit of reflection on Wednesday night. Now you've had a couple of days for it to pass. Was that one of the best performances your side's put in this season?
Yeah, we've had a few good performances, but I think we'd a difficult week, and I think the performance was good. More importantly, I think it was the level of the opposition we're playing. We know we're playing a top team, so it was a good performance, and thankfully a good result as well.
And your reward is a trip to Anfield to play Liverpool in the quarter-finals.
Yeah.
What do you make of that draw?
Well, they were always asking about the cup after it. You know, the media were asking about the draw and getting through, but it's the draw in the cup is always the most important thing. You know, if you get a good draw, it can help you greatly. Obviously, this wouldn't be seen as a good draw, but nevertheless, cup competition, we'll take our chances.
Does it ever feel like something a little bit extra, considering it's Liverpool and your Everton background?
No, because it's always been so difficult to go there. It has been, but I see it as a challenge, and I've always thought somewhere along the line we'll get a good result.
One player who's received a lot of plaudits from his performance Wednesday was Mohamed Kudus. I wanted to ask you actually, with John Heitinga now part of the coaching setup, how much has he helped Mohamed settle in, adjust to life over here in the UK?
Well, John helped me when John was at Ajax last year. I'd phoned him a couple of times about, not just Mo, about Edson as well, and a couple of other players at Ajax, and he'd given them really good reports for me. But they were completely separate, there was nothing to do with one and the other. You know, I'd spoke to John during the summer quietly and to see what his thoughts were about joining the staff, and we moved on Mo quite late in the window actually. So it was they were separated in that way. But obviously he's worked with him before, knows him well, can give us a little bit more insight in how he plays, where he plays, and is making it a little bit easier for us to maybe understand him himself.
Has bringing him in allowed you to be a bit more flexible at that end of the pitch as well? Obviously we saw Jared start in the centre forward position. Has that given you that flexibility that maybe previously over the last few years you haven't had the luxury of doing so?
Well, I think we've got a different group of players than what we've had. I think the skill sets of them offer different things now and allow us to try and look to be slightly different, which I've alluded to a couple of times. Ultimately, it's when you win games, you get some praise for it, and you think your players are playing well. If you lose, it can be very quickly the opposite. But I actually think that the team's been playing well. I think Mo's been doing really well for someone who's just come into the Premier League, as is Edson as well. The two boys who've come from Ajax. So, no, we've been pleased with them. Obviously, there'll be ups and downs, but that'll be no different to any other club.
You mentioned Edson will be missing on the weekend alongside Lucas. How big a blow is that for you going into a tough game against Brentford?
Well, that's why we play the players in cup games, we play them in Europe, so that when they do get their opportunities, the boys then they're ready to take it, and hopefully the boys who come in will do that. And
the record against Brentford, 4 defeats in a row in the Premier League. I know you beat them in the FA Cup last year. Has there been something specific at all, looking back on those games, that's maybe the way they're set up, that doesn't quite suit your style at all?
I think if you do your homework a bit closer, you realise that I think they were after Alkmaar. I think they were after Seville in the quarter-final of Europe. I think they were after Alkmaar in the semi-final. So I think we'd probably have a little bit of reasoning why we maybe had difficult games there.
I wanted to ask you about, before I pass over, about the Manchester United situation this week. It's been in the news a lot of pressure now mounting on Erik ten Hag. Now, as somebody who's been in his position before at the club, have you got sympathy for any manager stepping in at Old Trafford, the club that big, the scrutiny that seems to be surrounding the manager's position always, ever since certainly Sir Alex left?
Well, there's nobody stepping in because Ten Hag's there, and as long as he continues to get good support from the board, which it sounds like today he's had, then it's only speculation by other people. So obviously if you're at Manchester United, you have to win games. It's a big part of the job, and it wouldn't need me to tell him to that because I know exactly. But it sounds as if he's getting great support today from the board, and if you get that, it'll give you every chance of improving your results, gives you a little bit more time. So let's see what happens.
And finally, Wayne Rooney was speaking. He said that his opinion was that maybe the players need to take more responsibility. Are we in an era of football where the first kind of criticism is always directed at the managers before maybe looking at the players?
No, I think it's always been directed at the managers over time, and I think that's why most of the time you talk about the managers losing their jobs. You don't talk about players losing their jobs. So that happens, part of the job. Ultimately, again, if you manage Manchester United, it's a pressure job. You're expected to win, and you're expected to win with a really good style. So I think Ten Hag's done a lot of really, really good things. Eric Ten Hag, I should say, has done a lot of really good things, and I've got to concentrate on West Ham.
Thanks, David.
Hi, David. Can we start off with some team news? Will Kurt make the trip to Brentford tomorrow?
Not sure yet. Done a little bit of training, so we'll need to assess him and see how he goes. He trained a little bit on Wednesday, trained a bit on Thursday as well. So let's hope that he's in with a chance.
I wanted to ask you about your central defensive pairing against Arsenal, because there was a great moment before Mohamed Kudus' goal where Dinas covers Naif, tells him to go forward, so and then obviously from there the goal is set up. What did you make of the communication skills between the pair, the way they generally play together, and just generally Dinas' characteristics coming into your side?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he's a big personality, Dinos, as well. I think he's a huge man and powerful. So he's making his way back in the Premier League again, and I've got to say the games he's played, I think he's done a good job for us. I thought he played really well in the game against his old team Arsenal. Maybe gave him even more sort of motivation to play well. But good character, good boy. We hope we can continue to improve as he goes along.
And whoever plays in those positions tomorrow will have to try and stop Brian and Burma, who's doing really well this season now. And of course they've added Brentford and Neil Mulcahy to their ranks as well. And they don't have Ivan Toney, but they are doing well up front. How do you try and stop an attacking force like that, particularly with the pace that they have on the counter-attack?
Well, they've done remarkably well. They really have. Brentford over the years, they continue to do so. The players you named are really talented footballers, and sometimes go under the radar a little bit possibly, but I think for the people who watch them and have to come up against them closely, realise how good they are.
And one final one for me. Tomorrow, if he plays, Vladimir Sofal will make his 100th Premier League appearance. I think he's topped the assists chart so far this season at West Ham, 4. How do you sum up his time at the club so far?
Well, I think for the value of money we paid, I think we paid 3 million for him at the time we bought him. I think it's been a great bit of business. Sometimes at a football club you always buy a couple and you hope that they get better, and you get good worth. I think he's certainly shown us that. To get 100 appearances in the Premier League when you've come over from Czech Republic, you'd have to praise him, and I wouldn't say he's been ever consistent, but he's been very good. He had ups and downs a little bit last year at different times, but he started the season really well again for us this year.
Laura, good to see you.
Hi there.
You're playing tomorrow. You haven't played on a Saturday since September. I was wondering if that made a difference at all to not playing on Sunday for a change.
Yeah, I think it does, just for the partly culturally in this country, where history would have been. It's all changing as we all understand. But yeah, I mean, if truth be known, I think we'd have rather it been a Sunday, to be honest, because we've just played on Wednesday night again, so we're back to a two-day turnaround again. So sometimes we don't quite understand why that wouldn't be seen, but obviously I'm not the one who does that and turn up and play the games on the days which they put them out.
Of course, Brentford tomorrow, they've made their mark, I guess, since the Premier League promotion. And what are your thoughts on the team and Thomas Frank ahead of their meeting?
Well, I've got high praise for Thomas Frank and what they've done. High praise for Brentford as well, because let's be fair, they've come through. I think they 2 or 3 years in the Championship trying to get out of it, and they eventually got there. And look, they've not looked out of place since they went to the Premier League. I think they're a professionally run outfit who do a lot of good things. And look, their team's been really successful in the last few years, doing well. And I don't think MD's surprised now, when Brentford get results, because they have such a good side.
And a question on Jarrod Bowen as well. He's scored in all 5 of your Premier League away games this season. On Saturday, he could become the first ever player in the competition history to score in the first 6 away games in single campaign.
That right?
Is he aware of that record? Are you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of it. No, he always come up with something. And look, he's made a really good start to the season, Jarrod. His form's been good. There's a consistency to him at the moment as well. As you said, he's getting goals. So let's hope he can break that record tomorrow.
Yeah, and it would just be the first West Ham player scoring 6 away appearances as well. What does a player like Jared Bowen mean to the club?
Well, the easy answer would be to say I think the length of his contract would suggest to you how long we want him for and what we think of him. Again, I think Jared Bowen. I like Jared's journey because I think he's been a bit of the story where football always used to be you'd start in the lower leagues and find your way up and you make your way to the top if you can, and it's probably less and less happening in football nowadays. The kids are all getting taken in the academies so young, and very few clubs now miss out on young boys. So for him to go from Hereford to Hull to West Ham and eventually become an England international, I think says a lot about Jared and how well he's done.